What radio? The music you want.
With your host, Keys Dan.
Are you totally deranged?
RadioWhat.com.
What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do you go? DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote. And maybe you can have me, yes, me, Keys Dan, at your next event, wedding, party. You know, I do a little sweet 16 party. I'll do a 5-year-old's birthday party. I know how to do balloon animals. How about that? From 6 to 60, from 7 to 70, from 8 to 80, you know, and beyond. I like to party with the people. Today on the program, Jon Lukas Woodenman. Jon Lukas the Woodenman. He is, all right, you're going to get to hear his story in your ears. But if you haven't taken a listen to the music of Jon Lukas, Lukas, the Woodenman, I encourage you, check it out. Go find it on Spotify, iTunes, find it on YouTube. It's out there. The sweet sounds of the 70s to the hits of the 80s and beyond. The man, he's got style, and he's changed his style over the years. So we're going to get to hear his story in the next few minutes. Jon Lukas, the Woodenman. This week's shows for me, you know, because I'm doing the DJ thing, the public shows this week. Thursday night, I'll be at the Old Post Barbecue in Russellville, Arkansas. That's the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam from 6 to 9. It's family friendly. They got the best barbecue in the whole wide world, in my opinion. And they also have frosty beverages for the adults. But, you know, I keep the music family friendly. So come on. It's a good after-school treat. It's a good after-work treat. That's the Old Post Barbecue in Russellville, Arkansas, from 6 until 9 in the p.m. Bring the whole family. And then on Friday night, it's my regular Friday night show. You'll find me most Friday nights at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Now, this one is an over 21 party. It's the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. Yeah, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. They got the full bar, the kitchen, and they also have 10, count them, 10 pool tables. Friday night is they have the league, the contest, a pool tournament, if you will, right there at the Rab. So if you want to get involved with the pool tournament, possibly make some money playing pool, you could talk to Mark, you could talk to Debbie, and they'll get you all set up into the pool tournament. And also on the party patio, they got shuffleboard, foosball, darts, giant Jenga game, checkers. Yeah, there's a lot to do at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. That starts at 8 p.m. and we go until almost 2 in the a.m. Friday nights. Come and see me Thursday at the Old Post Barbecue or Friday night at the Rab. And then on Saturday night, I think I have a private party. So unless you're invited, you're not invited. I get to party with the people. It's a corporate event. Yeah, good times. All right. I've waited long enough. You've waited long enough. Let's talk to Lukas, Jon Lukas, the Woodenman. I get to talk to him on Skype because he's in jolly old England. So Skyping Jon Lukas, Woodenman, now.
Hello.
Jon Lukas, please.
Speaking.
The Woodenman himself. How are you, sir?
All Woodenman and kicking.
Well, fantastic. It's good to finally hear your voice, my friend. I know we've been trying to get on this for a couple of weeks now, trying to get this Skype working and making sure that the internet connection is working fine. It seems like you got it all together.
Yes, I have. Actually, the problem was I was a real Skype freak a few years back, but I started on WhatsApp and FaceTime, and they took over, and I was so used to them, and I couldn't find my passwords, my old passwords, and it was very wrong of me to leave everything to the last minute last time, because I assumed I'll just come into Skype, but I hadn't updated it, and it took forever.
Well, Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man, it occurs to me that in this day and age, we've become so used to technology, so reliant on it for so many things, from buying groceries to to watching television. For the most part, is technology. And yes, I relied on the Skype. I thought it would work. I figured it would work, but it did not work. But this time, it worked. And here we are on the What Makes You Famous podcast with Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man.
The blunder was from my part. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries at all. No worries. Here we are. And I know the people should know who you are. By now, they should have an idea of who Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man, is. But give the people a little idea of who Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man, is.
Well, basically, I was signed to EMI in the 70s, and I had quite a massive hit record all over the Middle East, parts of Germany, and I entered the 50 charts in the UK, which was quite a feat in those days, where internet didn't play a game in this, where, to make a phone call from London to Malta, where I originated from, you had to send a telegram and book it for the other side to pick up the phone in 3 days' time. And yeah, that's how it was.
I'm guessing this is the late 60s, early 70s, when you're trying to make a phone call to the tiny island nation of Malta, which is where you're from.
No, but even between England and Germany, England and America, in the 70s, you didn't you couldn't phone straight away. You had to book a call, and then they phone you and they say, "Are you there?" And they tell you to wait, and then they might even tell you, "Oh, the line is bad. We'll try again in 3 hours." Okay, and then you waste a minute of the call going, "Can you hear me? Oh, good. How's the weather over there?"
It occurs to me that that's usually the first attempt at small talk is, how is the weather? Mm-hmm. You talk about the weather, and that becomes a thing. But you're not in Malta now. You're in England, if I'm not mistaken.
I've never been. I was born in Malta, but I came here at the age of 16, when Malta was still independent, dependent on the UK.
Okay. Well, there's a little history that we're getting from you, Jon Lukas, is where Malta was when you were ages 0 through 16. Now, you were born in the late 40s, is that right?
Yes, exactly. I'm over 70 now. I'm in the ripe old age.
I wouldn't say that at all. You are still kicking, still viable.
I still make young sounding music, so although it's ballads, but yeah, I mean, time just creeps up on you, and you wake up and you look and you see white hairs, and you think, "Here I am. I'm old."
Well, I'm a man of 50, and before I turned 50, I was very afraid of telling my age, very vain, but vanity went out the window, it seemed, on my 50th birthday. When did it happen for you?
Never. No. I'm now of the time to embrace old age, where only 4 or 5 years ago I wrote a song called Older Better with a question mark.
I do want to talk about that song because that one is a little bit on the nose. I mean, just right on, right square in the target for sure. But I want to go back to 1970 with that first hit, that record-breaking hit, a man from the small island nation of Malta, which was, as you say, governed by the British Isles, the UK, at the time.
Yep.
You had a hit. Now, how did you come up with your song that was from the 70s?
It was mainly luck. It was luck of the draw. Apart from, they realized that I had a good texture in my voice. But the point, I wasn't out to make a career. I just loved singing. And I was in London on holiday, and a girlfriend of mine who was in the business told me we're going to see some new indie bands in Olympia at the time. You know, they were all new talent. And we went to the show, and I went with her backstage. And she was talking to a band that she knew very well. And she said, by the way, you know, Frank, which is my real name, is a singer. And the guy said, oh, really? So what type of music do you sing? And I said, ballad. You know, I used to sing sort of Sinatra, Tony Bennett, type of music, and although I was a big fan of the Beatles, the Stones, anyway, and then she called the other friends of hers that were there with us, and she said, wouldn't you like, you know, she sort of challenged me, why don't you sing the song? And I said, really? Me sing the song? She said, yeah, why not? She heard me sing in Malta, and the lead of the band said, "Come here," and he took me to the keyboard. This was backstage, and he said, "What key do you want? What song do you want to sing?" I said, "Do you know Summertime? You know, from Porgy and Bess."
Oh yeah. And
he said, "Yeah." He said, "What key?" I said, "Try C." And blah, blah, blah. And we worked it out. And I went on stage and sang it, and I did an amazing rendition of it. I made the song my own, which in those days was very rare. People always mimicked the main song. This was even before Little Help of My Friends by Joe Cocker. You know, the big track, how he made it his.
Sure.
I worked this on the same basis. Anyway, now,
the one who famously sang that song wasn't it Ella?
No, it was A Little Help from My Friends.
No, I'm talking about Summertime, Porgy and Bess.
Oh, yeah. Ella did a version.
Right.
But the initial one was by, I can't remember, but it was in the film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely from Porgy and Bess, but I thought that Ella famously made that her song. You know, it just really belted it out.
Okay, I'm not certain on that myself, but if you say so,
okay. I mean, hey, this is all fuzzy history. But Jon Lukas, anyway, you say that you sang the song and you had a good response from it. I
had a standing ovation, and a guy came to the bar near us, and he gave me his card. And it said, EMI producer.
Yes.
And he actually said to me, that was good. That was great. I'd like to see you because I think you can fit in a project that I'm doing.
What year was this, Jon Lukas?
Sorry?
What year was this?
1969, coming into 70, I think, September.
Life was about to change for you, Jon Lukas.
It was the moment. And then the next day, I went to Denmark Street, where all the record business happens in London and off Tottenham Court Road at the time. All the publishers were there. It was like a dream. What I used to see in the movies and what I used to see in the Rolling Stone newspapers of the time, the NME, and and I walked up to the publishers, and upstairs I went in the room of Ron McCrae, and there was Henry Hathaway, the producer, that gave me the card. And there was Gary Benson, who wrote the song with a guitar, and another guy on the piano. And they played Can't Afford to Lose. And straight away, Ron McCrae and Henry said, shall we go in the other room while you guys work it out? I said, I got the song. It's a good song. And I said, I'm ready to go if you guys are ready. They gave me the lyrics, and they looked at each other, and they liked what they heard. It needed a bit more work. And they said, right, Wednesday, Abbey Road Studios, where the same equipment of the Beatles was still in the room. In room, I think it was Studio C. We could see it because the Beatles had just split up, and everybody involved in the business was thinking that they're gonna get back together. And it was at the famous Abbey Road Studios. I had a 25-piece orchestra, and Paul Rodriguez was arranging it. He was part of David Bowie's band at the time. I had the words all there, and I was mesmerized when I heard the whole song that they played me the 2 days before, all with the amazing BBC orchestra band. And I did stuff on it that was magical. It was all the energy and atmosphere that was created that brought it out of me. And they were very happy with what happened. The studio was in a pilot room further up on the top, like they looked down on the studio. The studio was massive.
Yeah. And
each of the orchestra had the partitions. One of those jobs like you saw in a Sinatra recording, And that was it. And then I went back to Malta, and then a couple of months later I get a telegram, and they said to me, you better come to London to promote it. EMI's got it, and EMI is very happy with it. They're promoting it. And I came to London and started promoting the song. And at the time, there was Tom Jones and Engelbert Humperdinck that were quite famous and had that genre in their pockets. And one of the major DJs of the BBC said, we have another Tom Jones, Engelbert Humperdinck, but this is Jon Lukas from Malta. And that sort of gave me a stigma. You couldn't sound like anybody else to make it in the UK at the time.
Jon
so
Lukas,
I only reached the 50. But having been played on the BBC, I was picked up by what was then the MTV of Europe, which was Radio Luxembourg. And Radio Luxembourg embraced the song, and they were playing it 3 times a day. And that took me off in Europe. and took me off in the Middle East big time. I mean, I was from Lebanon, Abu Dhabi, Damascus, Iran, Bahrain, and this is all when the Emirates were massive. They were beautiful places, no wars. It was just before Khomeini started kicking it off in Iran. And I did shows with Gugush in Iran when the king of Persia was there on television. Gugush is their major star, still not allowed to go to Iran. She lives in America, and she commands 15,000 people per concert, Irani people, who pay about 300 quid for a seat. She's still a big Irani star. Her name is Gugush, if you want to check her out. And I was touring the Middle East with Italian stars like Modugno, Fadi Bravo, French stars like the big one. He just died. What's his name? I forgot the name now. It's not coming to me. Anyway, I was on that bracket, and then nothing happened for me in London for years, and it kept happening to me outside, but being based in London. And then the punk rock scene started, and the rock scene, and I was still making shows in tuxedos, and I had to change to rock, alternative, and all that. And it took time for me. It took time, but I got there in the end. And I made a comeback only lately. And just when things were started to get hot, in the 80s, I was still struggling when I met Marvin Gaye. He was in London, and we got very friendly, and he taught me so much, man. He taught me so much about soul and how to treat a song and how to ooze that little magic out on vinyl. The guy was a genius, and a lovely guy, but he was going through a bad patch, and he was doing a lot of coke, and he had just run away with his son from America, and he was in troubles with them on Motown, and he was a mess. But anyway, that's another story. And then I did Eurovision. For Malta, I came second, and I thought I could bring it over for them in Europe, but they never sent me. I came second. And from then on, I forged my own alternative band, and we did well for a while. And then the kids stopped, and I kept the name Woodenman, so I became Jon Lukas Woodenman. But after that, when things started happening, I started a show called ID. It was like X Factor on television in Malta. And at the height of it, I started, spitting blood, and I was hit by cancer in the lung. Oh. And I've been fighting it ever since. And I've actually was a success story for a while till it came back, and now I'm in the last stages under clinical trials. I have lost my voice. It's the tumor in my lung has put pressure on the side of my vocal box, and it's paralyzed my nodule. And this is why I'm sounding like this now.
Jon Lukas,
I can't hold the note.
Jon Lukas, your story has taken a turn, a downward turn. I was expecting to talk about Can't Afford to Lose, the song that made you so famous and so big in the UK. And here you're telling me the story of how it's coming to a close. How do we go from here? Jon Lukas, man, you're
life,
you're bringing me to tears, my man.
No, that's life, my son. Life is like a box of chocolates. You open it, and you never know what the other one's going to taste like. But I've always looked at life that I'm a poker player, and I always looked at life that I am dealt cards, and I have to play my cards. It's no point feeling sorry for oneself. And you've got the cards in front of you, and you got to play them. Believe me, I'm not trying to be stoic or anything. I still do not feel down about my situation. I haven't felt down about it. I can't say that I've lied in bed and thinking, oh my God, what happened to me? Or it hasn't occurred to me. When I lie in bed, okay, sometimes I can't sleep because of the medication and things, but when it comes to sleep and I sleep, it's no problem. And when I wake up, I don't wake up thinking, where am I and why am I in this place where there are days I can't get out of bed. It's the chemo and the medications are devastating and very punishing, very, very punishing. And that's the boring side of it. And I do get fed up with it, but I never say, why did this happen to me? Or because the minute you think that, you're done.
Right.
You're done.
Well, Jon Lukas, on the subject of cancer, I'm firmly against it. I've lost too many family and friends to the dang thing. Cancer can suck it, if I could be so blunt.
Yeah.
So, Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about your life. I do want to talk about how things started for you. You say in '69 you met the great Gary Benson, and he made a song for you. And for those of you that haven't heard Can't Afford to Lose, I encourage you to go ahead and put this podcast on pause. Go and listen to the sweet sounds of the 70s. It is a glorious song that just, you play it and you go, oh yeah, that's the 70s. And it's actually the beginning of the 70s. It released in 1970 and it became an international hit. You say you performed and you promoted this song. For how long were you going around, and in what kind of venues?
I wrote on the song. I wrote on that song for about 7-8 years.
Yes. So were you playing with other people? I mean, I'm guessing you must have sung other songs, maybe covers.
When I toured the Middle East, I used to tour with a basic bass keyboardist who was also my arranger. And that was it. And then an orchestra was booked, and we worked things out with the orchestra. Each part was given to the orchestra, and we played with session musicians.
So you played with a full band. I mean, this is back in the days before synthesizers were so versatile.
Correct.
You had to have actual musicians, people that were talented to play with you. And in the Abbey Road studios, you say you had a full orchestra. How many musicians was it? 25, 30?
25 plus 3 backing singers. And I had everything. I had timpanis, drums, strings, cellos, the whole shebang, trumpets. And that was it. I mean, it was a glorious sound. And it had class. I had a class act.
Oh, you can tell you had a beautiful. It's a beautiful song, and with all those musicians, my goodness, and to have that arranged. Who did the arrangement on that? Was that Gary Benson, or was that another producer that came in?
No, Paul Rodriguez.
You mentioned
he was in the first band of David Bowie.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and he came over to tour with me because EMI paid him to, and he loved working with me. We were very good friends. He's a gentleman, typical English public school boy. Very nice man. He's also passed away. Gary Benson has passed away, and only I don't know if you saw it on my Facebook. About a month ago, I went to a reunion and met Henry Hathaway again after 50 years, the producer, and because he threw a party as a 50-year reunion, and he invited all the people of the time that are still alive, and it was very sad to see Henry, the same face, not a day older. He really carried it well, but he was blind. Oh. And it was so sad to see him like that. It was so sad. And, I just hugged him and he hugged me, and we put our hands together. And for a good hour, we didn't let go of each other. And we kept talking about the past and the good old days, because we've had some amazing days. It was in the days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And it was the real beginning, when it was all mad. Some good times. And, and that was it. And but all this shows how, at the time, you never think you're having all those good times, those massive applauses, those standing ovations, those different countries, the girls, the shows on television, the interviews, the write-ups in the paper. I mean, you walk tall, and it's a very nice feeling.
For sure, it's nice to be recognized for the your accomplishments, Jon Lukas. Now, in the time that you were doing "Can't Afford to Lose" and "Can't Make You Mine," you were making other songs. Was this things that you were writing this time? "Summer Sun," "Fleur," "Now That You're Gone"?
No. I didn't write any of those.
Okay. How did you come across these songs?
No, I wasn't, because I was packaged by EMI, and I was down to the writer, and I was still down to Gary Benson. So since they had a result with Gary Benson and I, that's how things worked out then. We carried on because we had a hit system on our hands.
So you became a team with Gary Benson?
Well, not a team as such. I mean, he just came in, played me his 12 new songs, and I picked one, and then the company picked another or agreed on the one I picked. And then we went into the studio, same thing, same formula.
Yeah.
And we kept going till it lost it.
And that arrangement lasted until '88 when you formed the band Woodenman?
No, that lasted till about 83, 84.
Okay.
Because things changed.
And then where did Jon Lukas go?
In the business, things changed dramatically. Because punk started to take over in London, and my type of music was passé. Even Tom Jones, Humperdinck, even Sinatra, and people like Shirley Bassey, Nobody was selling records. The alternative moved in big time.
Well,
We were trying
I
to
did know that Shirley Bassey, she had a remix of her hits, and Tom Jones collaborated with quite a few people to try to refresh his music. He did a version of Burning Down the House that was more techno. Is that the direction that you went in when you formed the Woodenman?
No, I was lost. I was lost, and that's a time where I met Marvin Gaye, who
Yes.
came to London.
But you say that he was living the fast life, and he wasn't. He was someone that you could learn from, but he had his own demons that he was battling. Did you end up in some of those parties with him, or if you care to divulge?
Yeah, well. If I tell you the situation, he had he was living in a flat in Palace Court. That's close to Buckingham Palace.
Mm.
And in this flat, you'd walk in it, and then two fat minders would be at the door, and they get used to your face, and you start walking in. And you walk into the lounge, and you just wait with all the others. And every 4 or 5 hours, Marvin Gaye appears in his dressing gown, all suave, because he was beautiful looking, I tell you. He was cool. All suave, throws a little bag of Coke on the coffee table, says hi to everybody, goes in the kitchen, makes a coffee, and goes back into the bedroom. But all he was doing is in bed doing Coke and astonishing looking Norwegian and Swedish models, which he loved, with pear-shaped body. And that's how he loved them. And that's what mostly you saw of him, because he was at the time writing the album Sexual Healing.
Yeah.
And he had Tom Lamotte to Motown, who what was his name? The guy from Tom Lamotown, the head guy.
Gordy.
Sorry?
Barry Gordy.
Barry Gordy, correct.
Mm-hmm.
He was married to his sister.
Okay.
But they were never in love, and it came to a halt, and he took his son, who I know as Bobby, now they call him Marvin Gaye Jr.
Mm-hmm.
At the time he was Bobby. He's the same age of my son.
Oh.
And he ended up in America being sued for kidnap, because you couldn't take your son out of America without the wife's blessing. Yeah.
Right.
So she was issuing writs all over the place. Barry Gordy was holding his money, and this big, amazing star and global fame guy had to just go out and do concerts to have enough money to live.
Yeah.
And then when the album was finished, which took a long time, but he actually lived Sexual Healing. He lived the music you hear in the palaces, and that he brought on to tape. The whole thing. But he ended up overdoing the drugs, and he was in a very, very bad shape. Very bad shape.
And you were there in this whole time.
Yes, I was. Because I introduced him to Henry Hathaway, and they worked out a deal. Well, where he works out my album, because I had about 12 songs of mine which needed production, and he was going to produce them, and they worked out a deal that he would. But in the process, Marvin wanted the money up front, and because of his coke state, Henry said, look, it was about 20 grand. In those days, it was quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And Henry said, look, Marvin, he said, you finish a track and I'll give you 500. And he said, okay, then, if you want it that way. But then halfway, his people were coming in for his coke bill. And he wanted the money. And one day he said, take me to Henry now. And I said, okay. And, called Separate Records, which is Henry's place. They sent us the limousine. And we went down to the office. And Marvin said, I want my money now. He said, look, we made a contract, we made a deal. You to finish it. He said, I want my money now. Don't treat me like a schoolboy. And Henry said, look, this is a deal. I'm sorry, I can't have, the money side of the firm to dictate it to like this. He said, we worked. Anyway, it didn't work out. And he walked out, and I ended up looking at the ceiling. And then a couple of weeks later, I used to live just outside London in Ilford.
Right.
And he rang me at about 3 o'clock in the morning. And he was nearly in tears. He said, John, I can't take anymore. Can I come to you near the country and spend a few days? So I asked Mary, my wife, I said, do you mind if Marvin stays with us for a few days? He said, no way. He said, I got a young boy. He said, I'm not having it. I'm not, I said, please, Mary. He's in distress. He said, no, I'm not having it. Oh. And I said, sorry, Marvin, I can't do it. My wife was not happy about it. And that's the last I heard of him.
This had to be 82, 83, somewhere in there?
83, 84. And, wow. And then I hear that sometime later, the sexual healing got taken up by CBS. And he started touring in the States. He was paying everybody. And then he had a problem with his dad, because what he did, in order that Berry Gordy couldn't get hold of the money off him from CBS, because he was still his artist, the contract was signed by his father. So his father had all the money paid to him. And Marvin had to ask his dad for the money.
This is a 44-year-old man going to his dad for money.
Yes, which is his money.
It's his money.
Yeah, it's the money that CBS paid to his dad. Because if they paid it to Marvin's name, Berry Gordy would have got hold of it and legally and done, something aside of the problem. And his dad wouldn't release the money to him because of the drug situation. And in the end, they ended up in a fracas at home. It's a sad story, really.
It's a very well-known story how Marvin Gaye died at the hands of his father at the age of 44 years old in 1984. And you got to know Marvin Gaye a little bit, and you learned from Marvin Gaye. I mean, besides the coked out parties with the lovely Norwegian ladies, what did you learn?
Music. First of all, I never forget the moment that we were going to start on my album, and he asked me to play him my tune. I played them my best one, which I thought was the best one.
Which one was this?
And I think it's the B-side of She's a Girl.
Okay.
It's the B-side
Love, and She's a Girl.
Love. Yeah. On Love, 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 yeah. And when I finished, you sort of give it everything on the piano, and then you look up. And he was like, not impressed at all.
Oh.
And I just looked at him and I said, so, what do you think? He said, to be quite honest, John, he said, it's an okay song, but you haven't touched me. And I really thought that I was giving it everything. And he said, you can do one line, and if that line doesn't go under the person you're singing to, under their skin, you've done nothing. And I said, how do you do that? And he said, give me the line. And it was, the line, if I remember well, it was, she's a girl. I can't sing now.
I understand.
She don't know right from wrong. She goes out every night without me, keeping me waiting. I can't do it now, but it was on those lines. Yeah. Anyway, he took the line, man, and I just heard magic. Magic. Yeah. What he's done to those words. Just in the room, no music. He just repeated what I sang. And I said, say no more. I'll come back next week. And I started singing like that. And from that day onwards. And you can make any song sound good. It's an amazing, it's soul, really. It's soul. It's true, organic, downright soul.
It's nice that he helped you reinvent yourself, Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man. He helped you to change a little bit, because the artists that have the longest careers do reinvent themselves from time to time. Yes, you had the great music of the 70s and that great sound that you had with the full instruments, the orchestras. But then when you got in touch with Marvin Gaye, he gave you a little tip. He gave you a little twist. And this changed your style. This is how you reinvented yourself at this point in the early 80s, early to mid 80s?
Yes, and I went on to ballads, but still nothing was happening. And then coming into the 90s, I did attempt Eurovision for Malta, thinking that having a fan base already in the Middle East and Europe, I might get it for Malta. But the funny thing is, I never got chosen because Malta is very national. And they saw me, although a lot of people admired my music and admired the point that I was the first in their history to ever make it outside the shores.
Right.
In their actual music history. They still saw me as not a local.
Oh.
And yes.
That's the trouble. I mean, you left at 16, but you came back.
And I always felt Maltese, but to them, Eurovision was a big, big thing, which is, in those days, it was a nothing thing for anybody in the business. It was something because, business-wise, because once you attempt it, you won't take the stigma off you. It's a very dangerous thing to try. I mean, even Elton John tried it at his hardest times before he hit. And he doesn't mention that he did, because it wouldn't have gone down well for him. I mean, Engelbert Humperdinck tried it lately, and that's when he died the death. It's a very dangerous show. It's good for any beginner because they've got nothing to lose. But if you think that you're already in the business and you've got problems with your career, that you can just go and do Eurovision and clean up, it's not going to happen.
Well, I do know that even Engelbert Humperdinck, and I do love that name because when I used to say it on the radio, I would always smile. But even he changed his style quite a bit. He was a crooner in the 60s and early 70s. And then when the disco era came up, he reinvented it. He came up with some disco mixes of his songs as well. And I know that I played them in Miami when I was working on the radio down there. And did you come up with the disco sound as well, or when you were doing your performances live? And I'm guessing that you were still doing live performances at this point, even through the early 80s to the.
I wasn't because the Middle East, which was my biggest bread and butter.
Yes.
The wars broke out in Lebanon. I was in the chart for, I think, the whole month of August of the 1970s. Number one, I topped even Paul McCartney's Long and Winding Road at the time.
So how were you surviving at the time, making money throughout the 80s and early 90s?
No, throughout the 70s,
right,
and early 80s, I was milking it, but then I lost the EMI contract.
Yes,
there was money. Khomeini took over Persia, what was known as Persia, when I was Iran. Mm-hmm. It became an Islamic State.
Yes.
Anyway, I couldn't get most of the money of the final tours out of the country.
Right.
And I had problems collecting my money, so we stopped touring there, and even because of the wars. Lebanon it used to be the land of milk and honey, the south of France, of the Middle East. Mm-hmm. It was like rendered to smithereens.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Gaddafi and Reagan, Ronald Reagan on the U.S. side, and Gaddafi in the Middle East doing his thing, and it was war. It was war torn.
Gaddafi was for Libya.
Libya, that's right. That's right.
No,
and the Khomeini.
Lebanon was Arafat.
Right.
Anyway, it's a pity what they've done to themselves. And I toured in the best time.
Yeah.
In the Middle East, in the Emirates, you would fly and first class planes. There was very high class and very low class. It was no in between. There was affluent people and poor people begging in the streets everywhere. But when we used to tour, there'd be an English band, an American band, well known of the time, an Italian band, and even an Arab band. And that's where I got introduced to the Arab and African sound.
We're looking at a life change again for Jon Lukas.
I tell you, man, I used to, before most of the time I used to close the concert. I used to enjoy in my private stall coming out from backstage and just watching the Arab band. My goodness, man. how haunting, how mesmerizing the sound, live sound, how they played with the chant, with the the female voices and the male voices, how they blended them over cellos, over Arabian instruments, and the funk and the drums and the rhythm. Ooh, I tell you, man, I was when I used to come back and I couldn't talk to certain musicians in London and to explain what I had seen. And lucky now with the internet, these bands all come to the fore, even the great ones. But people who don't know what to look for miss out. And that's what I do on my Woodenman's Jukebox.
Yeah.
I play these bands.
Oh, yeah.
I introduce these sounds because that's in fact why I started the radio show. In the gaps when I wasn't doing that well as my show, my artist show, and also I was in the places I was touring. I was fed up of hearing on the radio just the commercial song, mainstream bubblegum, and there was so much good music, which is not self-indulgent. Good music doesn't have to be self-indulgent. There's very good ear-friendly, organic, credible music, which is not heavy, and is also ear-friendly. And that's where I cut in between. Even with jazz, I don't touch the heavy jazz, although I do like it. But it's when it gets acrobatic, I'm out of there. You know what I'm saying?
When you're just improvising for the sake of improvising.
Yeah, to show how clever you are. And that's not entertaining.
So you like a little structure in your music.
Yeah, exactly. So but there are some.
Yeah, this is what I was wondering. Even during the lean times when you didn't have any hits out there and EMI had thrown you to the side and you didn't have another band, how were you surviving? Were you still a working musician, or did you have to take a Joe job to where you had to make ends meet? I was still getting royalties, and but I also got involved with my elder brother. Mm-hmm.
He had interests in Soho, in London.
Yes,
and I invested with him in a couple of clubs, and that kept my head above water, and at times we also did very well. Until the game lasted, and that was it. Then I went to Malta in '93.
Yeah. Well, Jon Lukas, what you're doing is you're teaching the children, once you make a couple of dollars in the music business, hey, turn around and invest it. And thankfully you had a brother that had some interests and you helped him out. And it, in turn, he helped you out. So you helped each other.
I wouldn't say I helped him out.
Oh, okay.
He was already getting quite big.
Right.
But he invited me to invest with him in other places.
That's
and
beautiful.
I did. And he was already sort of set up to run them, and that was it. It was okay till it lasted.
Sounds like family taking care of family to me.
Yeah, it was. And that was it. But then, when I only made second place, which means pants in Eurovision, for Malta, and felt a bit degraded because I touched it and I didn't get it. But so a lot of people thought that it could have been the one. But this is where I think it's because they're national. Because after that, there were a couple of other multi-singers that made it abroad that attempted the Eurovision when they got dry out here, same as me. And the same thing, they only came second. And they are excellent singers and excellent performers. In fact, a standard above the local. But they were meted with the same prize. And that's when it confirmed in my mind that they were very national, and they still are. They're finding it very hard to deal because they're in Europe now and they have to take all the immigrants. And they feel very hard done by. And anyway, don't want to go to the politics of Malta at the moment because it's topsy-turvy with the corruption and with the blowing up of the journalists. It's all kicking off at the moment in Malta. But apart from that, I got back here and I formed the band with my son, Ashley.
Sweet.
Called Woodenman. And we got signed by Mike Bongiorno Music in Italy. And we had a hit for the month of August of 1998 on the People Sound website, which was before MySpace started.
Yeah. So how did that feel working with your son on a hit song?
It's with a hit song. It's called My Time. If you see it on My Reverb Nation, if you go to My Reverb Nation, the song is called My Time. It's an alternative song.
Yes.
But what happened, it was for the month of August of 98, we were on the charts. But what happened is People Sound got Mike Bongiorno sold his People Sound sold to Mike Bongiorno Music. They took our contract, and what they did, they offered us money, and they put the song on as answer phone ringer. Mm-hmm. And in those days, in 98, you couldn't tell that to a young alternative indie band guy. I saw the commercial greatness of this, and my son and his age group that were in the band, they all teamed up against me. And they said, we're not having this. What do you think you're doing? You can't put our music as a phone ringer. And I said, this is the new thing, man. This is how you sell music.
That was so big back in the time.
No way. They were so proud. They were, really sort of till death do us part music, young boys.
Oh, kids know everything. They don't know anything.
Love them. They were sweet. They were great artists. But I tell you, when it came to... So I became the old geezer who wants to sell our music. He wants to give our music for ringers. We'd rather walk away and call ourselves something else.
Oh, you were a visionary, Jon Lukas. They were selling so many ringtones in the late 90s and early 2000s. How many ringtones were out there for purchase for 99 cents a piece? It was before SoundCloud, before Apple iTunes. They were selling ringtones.
Yeah. Anyway, so we parted, but we had a few fans in Spain and Italy, and so I then changed my name to Jon Lukas Woodenman.
Yeah.
So that I can carry them with me. They weren't interested. They just walked away. They didn't care about anything. Oh. It was all about music to them. It was strange, but very honorable.
So what did Sonny Boy end up doing, your son?
my son is living in New York, and he's married there, and he started a business in IT in London, which he sold but remained as a advisor. And with the new people that he sold to, he went ahead to start afresh in America.
Hey, well, good. Sounds like he's doing good
And
then.
he's still having, odd bits and pieces. It's very tough. But he's got married there, and he's pretty established now in the last 4 years.
Well done.
And he comes to see me quite often since after I had the cancer. But now, because he's trying to get his green card, he can't see me for 9 months. So he said to me the other day, "You stay alive for another 9 months because I want to see you."
You better listen to that boy.
Yeah. But anyway, if it happens, it happens, because I am in the final stages. It started to spread, and I'm on clinical trials now. I'm on an American invention called Loxo 292, which I'm the guinea pig for. So if it lengthens my time again, I'll be the first on this for America.
You
It's
say
an
it's
American
Loxo 292?
It's called Loxo 292. Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now. It is something for clinical trials. You're on the experimental tip, Jon Lukas. They're trying to keep you surviving.
Yes. Otherwise, there's nothing else for me. And it's now. It was in 2010. It was in my lung, and then they cut one of my lungs out. It was a very big operation, which knocked me to 7. But I came out of it and did the 5-year remission, and I was a success story. And then I had problems with my throat, and they I had an operation with my nodules, and for 6 months my voice was like a baby's voice again. It was a new voice. And this is when I recorded Older Better, No Mountain, Secret, Better Man. And if you hear my voice there, it's the best it's ever been.
It is a beautiful song. It's a good group of songs right there. Older Better. When I first heard it, I was smiling from ear to ear, because it is a story of a. I mean, it's just when you get to a certain age, you start to think, am I getting older? Do I have anything left to give to people? And what you're doing with your Woodenman program, it's kind of evolved into your Facebook page to where you're staying active. And now, with all the knowledge that you've gained from music, when you've been touring all over this great planet of ours, you've learned quite a bit about music, and not just the Middle Eastern things, but you're sharing quite a bit of music knowledge on your Woodenman Jukebox Facebook page. Tell me about that, and how does that make you feel, teaching people about different types of music?
Well, I feel I'm sharing, and I like, obviously, when they like the choice. And I personally always love every genre. I'm not a one genre man. I like grime, I like jazz, I like classic, I like all types of artists, preferably singing artists. and good singers. But I'm also into the sound, and it's important. Unusual blended sound, and the way they're put together, the movement. It's people, find a niche, and generally speaking, they either like heavy rock, hard rock, indie, and they stick to it, and that's all they hear. I'm different. I play everything. I play, classical, jazz, pop. But I never play bubblegum. Bubblegum turns my stuff.
There's already plenty of that on the radio.
And these sort of young girls sort of high-pitched, screaming their head off over a beat. I'm sorry. It hurts me. This high-pitched voice over a beat. And I have to hear the song 3 times to catch the message. Sometimes they have a good lyric. Most times it's very shallow lyrics. It's sad what turns the young ear, and what they feed the young ear. There's some good rap, there's some really, really, really pimp talk, and which hurts me, man.
Well, it sounds like you're open. You're open to new ideas, but you have so much music knowledge in you, and you're teaching the children, the people, how that there's different types of music. They don't have to just listen to the bubblegum music, but some of the last stuff that you've put out, you put out things, even as like Santana's Soul Sacrifice from Woodstock, and then Alabama 3. So things as diverse as that. That's 2 completely different genres, but you're putting it out there to the world with the Woodenman's Jukebox. So I mean,
and when I invite, I like to invite the guests, but I have no time in the show. In my actual show, which is found on mixcloud.com/Woodenman. All my past players are there. And now we're loading all the old players over to Spotify. But I'm very slow with it because it's a lot of work. And my IT guy is not fully employed by me anymore. He's got a day job, and he's got no time to do it. And being under clinical trials, I get days when I can't look at a computer. So everything's working on a slow basis. I've also had 2 or 3 amazing artists that I've headhunted to, and offered them that I'm going to feature them. And it's been over a month, and I haven't put them there yet. And they might think, what a wally I am. But I want to write to them and tell them that they're still on my mind. And I'm judging all the Scottish indie that comes out at the moment in Scotland. I'm one of the judges, and I haven't been able, and I didn't have the time and the application to hear the music to judge it. So I've got that on hold. I found an amazing girl in Malta who's American, Chelsea Reitzman.
Oh yeah.
And man, I love where she's going with her music.
Oh, and she's wonderful. I had the pleasure of chatting with her just last month, or on the 25th of September. And thankfully, she was the one that put us together. And I'm so appreciative of
Yes.
Chelsea Reitzma.
Yes, I am as well. But mainly, I had hunted her because she didn't go pop commercial. She went close, but she left credibility in her music.
Yes.
And I admire that. So, and plus she sounds good and her songs are good.
Right.
So, we featured her a couple of times already, and she's gonna be on the new shows for sure. Let's hope I get through this, and you're gonna hear a lot of Chelsea right now, my Woodenman shoebox. So, and it's where it is. And here we are. And
here we are.
You know the famous Dan Keys.
Jon Lukas.
Who's then?
I have had such a wonderful time listening to your story. I'm so sad that it's coming to an end. Hopefully we do get to chat. And this Loxo, it looks promising. I mean, it looks like does it make you feel the Loxo 292? Does it make you feel better? Do you have good days and bad days? How is it treating you?
No. It's quite punishing. It took a long time to kick in, but it's quite punishing. I have a very dry mouth, parched. Maybe you can hear it in my tone. I have to, even though I put water, my tongue sticks. I get clogged nose and blood scab. It's punishing, man. It's punishing. I won't go through it. I get days I can't control my bowels. So, no way I'm going out. I get days, no energy at all. Can't get out of bed, or if I get out of bed, it's like I'm under a serious heavy flu. I get nausea, stomach ache. I'm out of breath. I can't walk very far in a hurry. I'll have to stop. I can carry on. There's so many symptoms. Very hard to swallow. And then the worst thing, I get dazed. And now it's become like normally day to day that all my favorite food tastes like a piece of cardboard.
Oh.
And yeah, it's punishing. And the only thing I can enjoy is soup. And sometimes I get a fetish for the chocolate delicacies, and I go to eat them and they taste like a piece of paper. And I just push them away. Solid food. I mean, I've never done this to my wife. I've already refused 2 plates lately this week. I said I can't go through this. You have to throw the whole dinner away. And she said, I'm cooking the same, I said, believe me, it's like magic. It's like you're putting poison in my plate. That's what's not fun. But I can take it, and it has to be. Otherwise, there's nothing else.
Jon Lukas, no one should have to live like that.
I've lost a lot of weight. I'm down to 65 kilos.
Yeah.
And you can start seeing my bones now. It's like I'm shrinking. So no, I don't think it's good. And the best I can expect out of it is that it might hold back the tumor a bit. But now that it's spread in other 3 places, I don't know how they're gonna control the lot. I'm too deeply involved. If they caught me with this 10 years ago,
yeah,
before they cut my lung, before, you know, I would have been, it's a race against time, and time is not in my favor. I've squeezed 9 years out of this already, you know, which a lot of doctors keep telling me, you know, that's quite a success story already, to have cancer, lung cancer, and still be around after 9 years. You know, so they even know themselves that I'm not. when they talk to you like that, you know that, you know, there's not much hope. You know what I'm saying? So, but
well, though there's not much hope, you still sound very hopeful, man. You still have a pretty cheerful disposition, Jon Lukas. I'm not sure that I could handle it the way you're handling it.
I'm not gonna allow it to get me down.
Yeah, don't let it control you.
But if it doesn't take my mind, then it's the way it is. Because after all, I'm not a spring chicken. I've had a good life, so I don't regret that. I mean, I'm gonna miss my wife and my son, and it's gonna be hard on them. But how can I say it? I can take it. I honestly can take it. And, you know, nothing lasts forever. You can't cling to life forever. And when you come to the 70s, coming to the 80s, I mean, come on, do you want to live in the 80s like everything's falling apart?
That's a fair point. That's a very fair point. You know, I was going to ask you if you were living alone or you had somebody taking care of you by your side, or at least, you know, somebody to hold your hand. And is your wife there with you?
I have a most amazing woman that anybody could ever have. God bless her. And her life is just around me. And sad to say, 5 years ago, she got cancer herself. It's been such a road for us, but we're okay. She is more, it hits her more. I don't know why. Maybe she's got more love than me. I don't know. Or she's not as strong as I am. But then when she got it, I was feeling bad.
Yeah.
It's weird. That I couldn't cope with. When she had it, I was, you know, talking to my son in tears, and heartbroken. But for me, no problem. Believe me, and I'm not trying to put this on. If I felt it, I'd say it. I'm an outspoken man. You know, it's the way it is. And one last thing before you go. Last February, I decided to make my swan song, my last album, and make some meaningful song. I got into the studio, and then my voice went in I think June.
How much had you completed by then?
I got 2 tracks in the can, and I got one tear-jerking, soul heartbreaker, amazing song that I'm very, very proud of. And I think we're working on a video on it.
Yeah.
And I think Henry Hathaway heard it, and he said, "John, I need this." You know, the blind producer of I now that actually produced Can't Afford to Lose, Satchel Records. And he said, "John, I want this. This is you. This is real. This I can feel, I can touch, I can try. It's everything." I've really done it. This one is good. I had hoped to go there with the whole album, but luck didn't, or God didn't give me the, stop me there after this one. I could have done a few like this, but it's just so heartbreaking, man. It's all the emotions of what I'm going through came out on this one. It's a blinder.
Jon Lukas, in the beginning of this, you mentioned David Bowie briefly, and before he left, he gave us Black Star. And Jon Lukas, it sounds like that's what you're doing. You're going to leave us with a swan song. I'm not saying you're leaving too soon. You at least have to stick around for 9 months so your son can come back and visit with you. So, but you are going to leave us with some good music.
I tell you, Daniel, it's called Done Fighting. It's called Done Fighting. It's not it's an emotional song. It's not a dark song like it's more on Freddie Mercury sort of Final Hour,
right?
Rather than Bowie or Leonard Cohen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. Freddie Mercury left us with "Show Must Go On." Very powerful.
Yes, it's on that level. You hear it when it comes to it. You look out for it.
Yes,
hear it
please. Put me on the mailing list.
Yeah, it's called Done Fighting, and you will see what I meant today. It's cool. I'm very proud of it. I wouldn't say this if it wasn't. It's good. I've done what Marvin Gaye told me. He'd be so proud of me with it.
Yeah. Well, Jon Lukas, how soon till that's completed? Is it close to the finishing point?
Well, they're starting on the. I've had a guy work on the video, and he came up with an amazing idea. He created a sort of robotic type of person. But the whole thing looked too techno. And Henry, when he saw the video, he said, no, not he saw, because he's got his A&R man who described to him, because he's blind now.
Right.
And he said, no, that's too cold for the song, from what I hear. And his daughter is an actress, and she messaged me the other day, and she said, John, do you mind if I take this project over? And I have actors, I've done filming. Do you mind if I do it? I said, mind? Go ahead. Yeah. She said, is this song about you, or is it everybody in general? I said, it's actually about me, but it's not going to be clever to make it about me.
Right.
You've got to make it about life. She said, that's all I want to know. She said, drop me the lyrics and leave the rest to me. We'll get back. And that's it. That's the last I've heard. So with the other guy, I don't know what I'm going to tell him to stop the project, but because he's put a lot of work in it. But
I hope
we get the 2 videos.
Jon Lukas, I hope we get this audio real soon, and perhaps we'll see the video just after that. I've taken a lot of your time, and I can hear it in your voice. You're starting to strain a little bit. I don't want to hold you too much longer. I know we could chat again soon in the future. Give some last words for the people, and we'll wrap this up. Jon Lukas, the Wooden Man.
If there's hell below, we're all gonna go, but take it to the sky.
Well, there you have it, party people. Jon Lukas, Wooden Man, the Wooden Man. find him on Facebook at the Woodenman's Jukebox. Go right now, like that page, and make sure that you keep in contact with Jon Lukas Woodenman. He's going to teach you about music. He's going to give you some inspirational things and little tidbits about music, and not just the new music, but and not just music you may be listening to on the radio right now, but music from all over this planet. You'll learn more about music, expand your horizons. The man has got knowledge. He's got lots of musical knowledge, and dang it, that cancer. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. That's enough of that. Not only is Jon Lukas going through this cancer thing, the wife has got it too. She's I'm done with cancer. I'm done with it, man. Get scientists, if you're out there listening to me, hurry up and eradicate this stupid cancer. I'm done with it. It's taken too many people, too many of my friends, too many of my family with cancer. That's enough of that. I know I'm kind of being funny, but I'm also being true. Cancer sucks, man. It just does. And Jon Lukas Woodenman, I hope you have some kind of relief from the pain you're going through. Because you got that lovely wife and your sonny boy. It's good that you have your people with you. That's nice, man. I know he wants to come and visit with you. So, yeah, stick around, Jon Lukas Woodenman, and feel good. Hopefully this new medicine will be working for you. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. If you want to tell your story, I encourage you. Give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. Radio What? The music you want. With some words to live by.
Don't take yourself so seriously. No one else does.
A public service message from radiowhat.com. The music you want. If you like what you hear, follow What Makes You Famous social media. Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Follow on Facebook at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Instagram at What Makes You Famous. Follow on Twitter at Makes Famous. And follow on YouTube at Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Famous podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Famous podcast on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, and almost anywhere you find podcasts. Tell your story on my podcast, What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time. You can support What Makes You Famous using the PayPal link, paypal.me/KeysDan. Email info@radiowhat.com. What Makes You Famous podcast is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at keysdan.com. Thank you for listening. Follow Keys Dan on Facebook and Twitter. Click on the links at the top of keysdan.com. Follow Radio What on Facebook and Twitter. Click on the links at the top of radiowhat.com. The music you want is on.